morning. Great to have you join me today. I'm excited for the show today. I got Jim Liberty on in just a few minutes. We've got Larry Dean on from TRYTAN, great band that Jim is also in, and he's going to be talking a bit about his band. Also, big concert coming up with Barron Cross, and we don't want to make sure you don't miss that too. And gosh, just a lot of good things coming up today. We're going to chat a little bit about other things happening. Want to talk a little bit about a new podcast coming up that Jim is involved with as well as some of our other folks from around the world. And just a lot happening with Sanctuary. Folks, you know the drill by now. If you're just joining me, please sign in. Let me know that you're here. And let me know where you're watching from. That's always kind of fun to see where people are watching from. And shout out to all my friends that I saw in the last few weeks from Sweden and Switzerland and Denmark. So great to spend time with you. And I'm very, very happy that we got to have that time together. Can't wait to come back, and I will next year. And just great to be traveling again. We'll talk about that and some other festivals that are coming up as well. A lot on the show today. I want to introduce you to the illustrious, industrious John Cassandro. And John, are you there with me this morning?
I am. I wasn't expecting to be on screen. I was not prepared.
I love to throw a little, excitement in the show for you.
I noticed. Good to see you this morning, sir.
Well, John, I just wanted to bring you on so I could tell you with people watching how much I appreciate you, how much work you do with this. All I do is show up and talk. I have the easy part. You book the shows, you do all the graphics, you do the production. It's really your show with me talking. So I appreciate all that you do. John, you've been with Sanctuary for a lot of years.
Yeah, I go back to 15, 16 years old. So probably 1987. Yeah. Came to Sanctuary in person in 2000 till about 2003, and then moved back to Nashville last year, July of 2024. And I've been going pretty much full steam ever since, but always been kind of working in the background, even when I was up in Kentucky, producing the podcast and doing that. So real privilege, real honor.
Well, and John, it's one of the greatest things to me is not only your talent, and you're good at this, but man, I appreciate your friendship over all of these years. And you are near and dear to my heart. I appreciate you so much. We have had a great time with Sanctuary, but John, we're just getting started.
And the opportunity I have to be a part of it at this point. Sometimes we reflect on life, and we know that life is not easy. We struggle, and God somehow manages to throw us a bone, so to speak, and. It's just like, God, am I doing enough? Am I being enough? Am I serving you in the capacity that I truly need to be? And so even though chaos going around, this is a place of haven, to be able to connect with our international audience, even though it's indirect, it's amazing privilege to be able to do that. And to everybody that's watching, thank you guys for believing in the ministry of Sanctuary. You guys have heard it a ton by now, but 40 years been doing it, and there's a lot of exciting things coming down the line. And so I'm sure I speak for Pastor Bob when I say thank you for being part of the Rock and Roll Refuge and continuing to take the gospel to the streets.
Awesome. Thank you, dude. And I appreciate your time here, appreciate what you do. And I just want from time to time for people to see who really makes the show happen. There he is. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna play on the slogan of Sanctuary: "We are metal, we are family." There's no I in team. Between all the, as to coin a phrase from you, from all the illustrious guests that we have, it's Sanctuary is about community.
Yes.
And, together we're moving forward motion, into the world to exist as a presence for people that,
Yes.
exist in the rock and metal community that don't have hope. God created a platform, and Pastor Bob, thank you for being faithful and diligent to stay with this for 40 years. It takes a lot of vision to be able to do that. And,
we're getting started, John.
Yeah. And it's wild because, growing up listening to, bands like Bloodgood and Saint and Barren Cross, and to now at 54 years old, getting to work side by side and to be friend, I think Jim Laverty and, when we had Barren Cross do the thing at the gathering and connecting with Mike and all the guests, just relationships I never dreamed I would have. But, God is that way. Where he brings people back across our path. And at the end of the day, it's all about kingdom work and being intentional in how we're serving people within the community. So
absolutely. Well, John, we've got a video of the guys.
Yeah, let me get that up here real quick. If you can kill for a minute, I will get that loaded.
Yeah.
Set up the video for us, Pastor Bob, if you would.
Well, I spent a few weeks in Europe, and one of the places was in Denmark. At the Mountain is the name of our worship band from Denmark. Well, actually, Denmark and Kenya, and soon Mouse is going to be joining, also from Holland, and Andreas from the United States, soon to be Denmark again. So we got all those guys that just did a great job. We did 4 concerts, awesome concerts. I spoke at them, and they did the playing, and great teamwork. But at the Mountain, great guys.
Yeah, and the video clip is great. I've been privileged to get to meet, not to meet, hopefully soon, Morton, and connecting with Jonas and Terry, and hearing this project has just been amazing. Andreas, never dreamed that I would be connecting with people. Matter of fact, we all connected on WhatsApp this morning, and it was just something about that moment that all of a sudden it's like that brotherhood comes closer.
Yes.
So our international family is super important. Yeah. So
absolutely. You ready there, Mr.?
I believe we are ready. Let's go ahead and let's load up here.
Yes.
All right. So stand by, and we will
right now on tour, on the way to our gig in Ikast. Played yesterday in Aarhus. Great turnout, great fellowship. We were actually on time with getting everything ready and going on stage on time, but then the fellowship was so amazing that we just postponed it 10-15 minutes before we started. Only God. Yeah. Only God. So good.
Love that. Love that. Such a great time. And if you haven't heard their stuff, Spotify, you can go and look at the Mountain, or you can actually look it up under Sanctuary Worship Records. Excuse me, Intense Worship Records. There we go. So I want to bring on my special co-host today. Jim Liberty is here with us. There he is. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. So you're in the storehouse.
I am in the storehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where we have church every Sunday,
Yes.
and this is where we meet for our gathering services on once a month on Saturday. A lot goes on here.
And Jim,
Kind of-
and this is also the place that you've been doing a lot of practicing.
Yes,
And
yes,
let's talk about that for a minute. You have a show coming up with Barren Cross.
we do. We have a show coming up on Saturday in up at Versailles, Ohio, at the BMI Event Center. And it is, we are just looking forward to it. And we've been practicing so much. I think I've got between 50 and 60 hours logged in with the band. And it's going to be a fun show. We're looking forward to it. Come on out and come to the concert. It's like, I always say, it's like I'm going to a concert, so come with me.
Yeah.
And so we'll just all enjoy each other's
Yes.
the music, the family, the fellowship, and it'll be a lot of fun.
And Joe, talk about your the band that's on with you as well.
Okay, yeah, so that's X Center. I don't think we've played a show with them, but it is I'm looking forward to it. They're a great band. They've got a great sound, good songs, and yeah, and so we're going to be dual teaming it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
Absolutely. And we had Rex on with us last week. They're
yes,
excited for the show, and this is going to be an amazing show at the BMI Event Center,
Yep.
place to do the Immortal Fest. And all.
Yeah, and we've got some special things planned for the show, and it's just going to be just a good family time with everybody. So just bring your family, bring your kids, bring your grandkids. So, so.
Well, and there are some of those
Oh yeah, there
people
are.
that have been following us this long who have great grandkids.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because at the last Barren Cross show, there was a mom and dad who brought all four of their kids that were in their 20s, and I had an opportunity to get to meet them and get to know them. And it was it was fun. I saw them in the front row headbanging all those kids, and it was a lot of fun.
That is so
Of course, I can't headbang anymore because of fear of throwing a disc out my neck.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
dude, it's great, and it's so great to see the people that have been fans for, over 40 years with Barren Cross now. So
Yeah,
been
yeah, and so something that just occurred to me, Bob, is that the name Barren Cross is significant, and I've always felt that way because he's no longer hanging there. He was crucified, he died, and but he rose again on the third day, and the following week is Easter, and we celebrate the resurrection of Christ,
yes,
and I think it's very appropriate, for the band to be playing on that particular weekend. And so,
absolutely.
yeah, it just occurred to me that it's the most powerful thing that Christ did was raise from the dead,
Yes,
and we have to put an emphasis on that as believers. Is that he rose from the dead. He appeared to over 500 people afterwards, and he proved who he said he was. And so anyway, that's my little thing that occurred to me this morning as we were getting ready. So
it's a powerful name, Jim. And
yeah,
and wasn't it Ray that came up with the name?
you know,
Remember?
when I joined the band, I believe they already had the name, and I don't remember if it was Ray or Steve, or maybe it was a collection between Ray and Mike and Steve. I'm not
Might have
sure,
been. Yeah.
but I always thought that it was a good name for a band because
Yeah.
of what it represented.
Yeah.
And You know, and the fact is that Christ went to the cross. He paid for our sins. That was the best thing that he's ever done for us. And as you said, when the Father looks at us, he forgets that he forgets. And it's
Yeah.
because of the blood of Christ and the resurrection, you know, and so yeah, so that's you know, it's a good to me, it's a good name.
Yeah,
So
it totally is.
yeah.
Well, Jim, good concert coming up. The location that you're sitting in also is the location that we have sanctuary every Sunday.
Hmm. Every
First
Sunday.
every month we've got our gathering. This gathering was a little unique. You know, we've been having some pretty bad weather here in Tennessee, um, and it's been, yeah, kind of touch and go sometimes. On Saturday, the weather started getting really bad. And when I got up to speak after you were finished, you know, doing the worship and everything, and the
Mhm.
worship was done, when I got up to speak, everybody's phone went off
Yeah.
with a tornado warning.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't stop. I just said, okay, well, I'm going to talk anyway. And I talked pretty quickly and then sent everybody home. But
Hmm.
that was unique. Yeah.
Bob is going to preach heck or high water.
Yes, yes, yes. And I did.
uh, yeah, and we let me just say this that on Friday night I got 6 phone calls from the weather service talking
Yeah,
about the tornadoes, and there was a lot of damage throughout Tennessee.
yeah,
We dodged a bullet here. We just have a lot of wet fields and high water, but you know, we pretty much dodged a bullet here, you
yeah.
know. Um,
So
but go ahead.
we have good friends, Jim, Carrie and Carrie West
Karen, Kenna, yeah.
and Kenna West. Uh,
Hmm.
Carrie is the son of Dottie West, the famous country
Hmm.
singer, and Kenna West has won Songwriter of the Year award more than once for the songs that she writes that are very
Hmm.
popular in Christian. But anyway, they're good friends of ours. Carrie has been here working on our sound many times, and but they live in a little log cabin on Tater Peeler Road. Yeah, it is
Right
Tater
next to Chicken
Peeler Road.
Run.
Yeah, Chicken Run. Yeah, right there in that.
Yeah.
They have a log cabin there, cool place. But a tornado went through their yard, took out the trees right next to the house. Their house was spared, their vehicles were spared. The trees dropped inches from the cars, and so they had tornado right at their house. And some people around our area had the same kind of experience. But yeah, it was serious, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that was amazing. They lost, I think, 17 trees,
it's
which
amazing.
is a lot of trees. I
Yes,
lost
yes,
2 years back. I lost 4 big ones, and I thought I was going to die from
yeah,
from just
I
having to
know.
clean up that mess. But you know, one of the good things that happened, Pastor Bob, is that for my situation when my trees went down, and I think when Carrie and Kenna's trees went down, people from the church, man, just showed up and helped them. And
So
I remember that morning, people from my church, there was 10 people that showed up with chainsaws and excavators and everything. And
yeah,
we had my mess cleaned up in about a day. And that's what I love about the body of Christ
body of
is
Christ.
that,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
the arms and feet of Christ, so, but, but yeah, and they really did dodge a bullet, Pastor Bob. They really did, and the Lord protected their home, but they're all in their yard. It's a whole
Yeah,
different thing,
yes.
So.
Yeah, interesting.
Hmm.
Well, Jim, some interesting things coming up that you're involved with. Um, we have a new podcast
Hmm.
starting this next Saturday, actually. Uh,
Hmm.
the worship podcast. You're doing it along with Mouse from Holland, Morton and Jonas. Well, Morton from um, Denmark and Jonas from Kenya. And you guys are doing this worship at full volume podcast. I'm very
Well,
excited for it. Great.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that too. It's really cool to get worship leaders together that share the same passion um, for leading his people in praise and worship. And I think it's going to be a great podcast. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be up in Ohio, with the band. So I'm hoping to be able to be a part of the first one.
Yeah.
I don't see why we couldn't. I asked him today, what time are we meeting? So I'll be able to find out. So
Good.
but yeah, that's going to be that's going to be very informative. One of the things, Pastor Bob, about that particular subject, and I know, I'm talking a lot, but is that when we were coming up in the 80s and 90s with Sanctuary, I didn't really have anybody that came alongside me and said, hey, Jim, let me mentor you in this. And so it was go to the School of Hard Knocks. We learned a few things, and so, all along the way, you learn about people's giftings, people's hearts, the heart of God through worship, and so I'm just hoping to be able to just maybe relay some of the things that that I've learned personally through the years
Yeah.
of doing worship with Sanctuary, and other opportunities that I've had to do worship as well. And it's it, it's just it's just such a great topic of conversation because there's so many aspects to it. And
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. And look at how worship has changed through the years. That you've been
yeah.
doing worship for almost 40 years now with Sanctuary.
Hmm.
Beginnings, you did 2 albums years and years ago.
Hmm.
Another one on the way.
Hmm.
Very different from the original. Things have changed a lot. You still have some of the same players you had 40 years ago.
Oh yeah, still working with Glenn. Glenn is one of my best friends
Yeah.
on the planet, and working with him. I'm working with his son Joey as well, and Sherry.
Sherry.
And we've got a lot of great new players too, that have come along the way. I've worked with Jamie, and so we just have an eclectic group of folks
Yeah.
that just bring so much to the picture.
Yes. And some
And
people that we've started working with too. Steve Braun is on the.
oh yeah,
I just saw him this morning. He manages the Starbucks close
Star-
to it.
did you
But
go there this
he,
morning?
by the way, yes, he's going to be doing vocals now with Iron Wrath.
No, he
So
was excited about that, buddy.
very. That's one of
And
my.
let me just brag on Steve. He is just an incredible singer, and again, just a better person
Yeah.
altogether. He is, you know, he always tells me, he goes, Jim, whether I'm singing or not, he goes, I'm coming to serve.
Yeah.
He set up. I remember for Christmas, he set up all of our Christmas decorations in back, and
Yes.
spent an entire day here just making this whole place look like Christmas.
That's
And
awesome. Yeah.
but just not only that, he and his wife Tara have just become such great friends, and so, but yeah, what a great guy, great heart. Yeah.
Well, we've just got some of the greatest players and some people that have been
Yeah.
with us for a while,
Oh
and
yeah.
some newbies. We have 2 bands. We should probably mention that too. We have, the old ones and the young ones, we used to say, but they're kind of mixed. We have
Hmm.
a little bit of an older worshipy style, and then the heavy metal worship band.
Extreme.
Yeah, the extreme worship band, and but both are great bands, and both are
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, we call them the extreme and the classic.
There you go.
We're classic rockers, so. And if I just would just brag on our extreme worship band, they are some
Yeah.
of the most talented individuals, really good hearts for worship, and just they recognize a good song when they hear it, and they implement it very well. And I sure love them, and
We are their big
and it.
fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and every once in a while I get to sit in with them, and I love that too. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're going to be leading us in worship at Immortal Fest,
yes.
and I'm going to bring some of the classic players are going to be there, and so we're going to kind of do a double thing there, and you're going to get a full measure
Well,
of worship before Pastor Bob presents
I
us
love
with
that.
wait,
Well,
Pastor Bob, with
yes,
the best sermon you've ever heard. No, the
I
best sermon
better.
you've ever preached. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Well, and Jim, it's our 40th anniversary this
mm,
year in July at Immortal Fest. It just doesn't seem possible that Sanctuary could be 40 years old.
no.
But
It,
what a great time.
and Bob, it's hard to wrap your mind around that because all things are possible. Because how can it be 40 years when I'm only 35?
I know. I know. It's hard to figure
You-
that out.
you- You're 39 and I'm
You were
35,
just
and
a baby, right?
I know, way before I was baby.
Yes.
So
Well, Jim, it's the first 40 years and 40 more to go. I'll be 112 and we'll still be going,
I'll be 100. I'll be 100. I'll be a centurion.
Yeah. And my mom will be 130 something. She's sitting
Mhm.
with me. So my mom just got new hearing aids, by the way.
Oh, is she hearing good?
Oh my gosh. She had to turn them down. She was hearing things too well.
Oh, wonderful.
She can hear a pin drop. And it's changed her life. It's something that my friend Jim Liberty needs to do as well. All
What?
of us little, yeah, see,
Did you say
Jim, as
something?
years go by and we listen to more and more loud music,
No, I know.
suffer, don't they?
It,
Yeah.
it's hard. Like, a bunch of us from Sanctuary all went out to the Olive Garden. Don't tell my Italian friends for, I don't have, I don't have the sauce there. I just have the soup and all you can eat
Yeah.
soup and salad.
Yeah.
And, with all the background noise, I mean, sometimes you just feel like you're sitting there by yourself because it's just, my hearing has just gone really down the tubes. So, oh,
Absolutely.
well,
So
that's
I
what
have
happens.
to tell you, I was at Olive Garden one time with a friend and I ordered the soup, salad, and breadsticks. And he looked at me and he goes, "What's a stupid salad?" So it's the joke now. I'd like the stupid salad and breadsticks, please. Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome, Bob. That's awesome. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna order next time. I kind of like going there for that because I can have
Yeah.
2 bowls of soup and about 2 bowls of salad and like one breadstick, and I am totally gorged. But I'm
Absolutely.
definitely gonna order the stupid salad.
Yeah. Just for stupid salad.
Yeah. So.
That's,
And you never know what you're gonna talk about on this podcast. Right?
yeah, I know. So, Jim, it was so good to see people these last few weeks. And I'm sorry you didn't go this time. You've
Mm,
been so many times in the past. But a couple things that I remembered, we had such great worship this time.
mm,
Um, the guys at the Mountain, we played them at the
mm,
beginning here. Um, just incredible time. So, so much favor. So I have to tell you the story that the local newspaper in Denmark, the Christian newspaper, wrote a very sarcastic article about them, and it was basically talking about that, can this kind of music really be Christian? And, it's that whole thing that 40
mm,
years ago we used to hear a lot. These days we don't hear it so much. But they were a little sarcastic with it. People started writing in and complaining because they wrote this way, and the guy that owned the paper said, "I'm going to retract the article." He apologized for it, and they're writing a new article that'll come out this week in a very positive way about the band. But because there were so many people that were upset about the negative tone of the article, they pulled it. They pulled it.
mm,
And I just thought that was what a great thing to happen. So I have to tell you about one in particular. Um, the guys, we did a joint service. You know Simon Strunza. Simon has
mhm,
traveled with me a lot. Simon and another pastor, um, Kent, they each have their own churches and they're about maybe 20 minutes from each other. And we had a big event at one of the churches, and both of their churches are pretty large. So we decided to have just a regular service. So both of them were dressed in their long black robes that they wear, to preach with, and the big collar that goes around. And it was a fairly formal service. All the people in the communities, both the communities were there. More than half of the people were older generation, people that would come to, one of their older services. This is the state Lutheran church.
Mhm.
And so the guys were playing, and this is heavy metal worship. I mean, they're strong stuff. And the words are there, and people are following along. But they do a song that's a Danish worship hymn that everybody knew. They already knew the hymn. And everybody was excited. They stood up, even. Everybody there stood up, and they all sang. And they were so excited. They won the crowd over because they actually did a hymn. And everybody that left was so excited about what they had done. And little 80-year-old grandmothers were saying that was the best concert. So I
Mm.
love God's favor sometimes, but that was Denmark. Yeah.
No,
So,
that's fantastic. I love that, Bob.
so Jim, I love it when we do hymns. My mom can sing along, and we do them. Of course, it was done heavy metal style like we do as well. But it's cross-generational, isn't it?
Yeah, it is generational, and the aspect of knowing a person's heart comes to my mind, because if the people that wrote those articles ever met Andreas or met the rest of the guys in the band,
Yes.
they would see Christ through them.
Yes.
And so I think that people stand back in fear because they're afraid of change. They're afraid of something different. One of the things our extreme band played at Immortal Fest, I don't know, was it the first one last year that we did? And we gathered in a circle to pray, and I knew that we're getting ready to have this real heavy worship time, with big
Yes.
guitars and big drums and everything. And I said, listen, let's just go into the audience. There was 200-300 people there, and I said, let's just go into the audience, and I want you guys to introduce yourselves to as many people as you can before we do worship, so that they
Good.
can
Yes.
see your
Good.
heart, so they can understand. And that was a game changer. And of course, we went down, and we were down in the audience for at least a half an hour. And as I was looking around, I saw Jen and Wes praying for people. I saw Jamie, Joey, and Crystal praying for people. Jay praying for people. I was praying for people.
Yeah.
And it just created this environment of, well, these people, all of a sudden, they see their heart.
Yes.
And the music is just an outward expression, and it doesn't mean, because you play heavy music doesn't mean you've got like this evil in your heart. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just, it's just a style. And and then the band got up and struck the first note, and I knew that the power of God was going to just envelop that whole place, and it did. And yeah, and man, that's exciting. To see the cross-generational movement. The older folks have to embrace, change, and it's hard for them to do. And I would say this about the young people too. Now, the young people, they have to be patient. When you turn if you turn a bread truck too fast, you can lose all the bread. And so, you just make your turn, a nice wide swath, and before you know it, you won people over with your hearts and the sound. So
You don't spill the bread.
you don't spill the bread. You don't
Yeah.
want to lose all your bread. So.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, I want to talk a little more about some of the things that we're doing internationally, some of the things we're doing locally. We're having trouble getting Larry Dean on with us. And when we come back from the break, we may or may not have him with us. But Jim, you and I never have problems thinking of things to talk about.
No,
So we will be back.
Okay.
And we'll see you folks right after this.
The BMI Event Center is proud to announce the return of Baron Cross. Baron Cross. Yeah! Baron Cross, Saturday, April 12th at 7 p.m. at the BMI Event Center. Baron Cross. Playing all your favorite hits. Rock for the King. Atomic Arena. State of Control. Rattle Your Cage. And all their top hits from your favorite albums. Baron Cross. With special guests at Center.
This is Michael Drive from Baron Cross. We are performing on the 12th, and you need to be there. We love doing Baron Cross concerts for you, so come and rock with us. Let us meet you.
Baron Cross, Saturday, April 12th at 7 p.m. at the BMI Event Center. Meet and greet passes are available. For more information, you can visit their website at bmieventcenter.com. Welcome to the Atomic Arena. Presented by BMI Event Center.
We are back with our good friend Larry Dean and Jim Liberty as the co-host. Larry, good to have you on the show. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too, man.
Oh, Larry.
Hey, Jimbo. Good to see you guys, man. You know, I've always told my family that you got to look out for what we call affirming warfare. When you're being fought on something good is on the other side of it. So
yes.
I'm glad to see you guys for sure.
Thank you. Great to see you. Well, Jim is no stranger to you, Larry. You guys have been doing a little playing. Talk about that.
Well, so Jim is one of those guys that has a lot of irons in the fire for the Lord. And
yes.
I love that as a man after my own heart, and just like you, Pastor Bob. But, you know, when we decided and felt like the Lord wanted us to start getting back into the music scene, you know, the metal music scene. I always loved Jim's heart, his playing. The Baron Cross guys, I mean, you know better than me, just their hearts for the Lord are strong, and they're so talented. And when it came time to think about, you know, who would I love, I always kind of like, Lord, who's the dream team? And so I kind of had a list of my dream team guys, and Jim was on that list. And I hit him up and said, hey, man, I want to do some TRYTAN stuff. And I'd love for you to be involved if the Lord would lead you to. And he's like, yeah, man, whatever you need. I think that's exactly what he said, whatever you need. And the rest is pretty much history. And we did Immortal Fest last year, and would really love for some doors to open up for us to do more live performances on top of Immortal, like in Europe, Asia. We had some really good demographics in Europe and Asia, you know, in the 80s and early 90s. So that would be really cool. But yeah, Jim's awesome, and just a heart for God and an amazing talent for sure.
And you just have to make sure that your dream team doesn't turn into a nightmare. It was a good experience for you. You guys played well together. Jim, how did you feel playing with TRYTAN?
Well, I you know what? It was one of those things where I thought to myself, okay, you know, I've been a fan of the TRYTAN music, you know, since the 80s. I remember hearing Genesis for the first time, and I believe I was traveling on the road with Baron Cross, and I mean, I was just like, man, who are these guys? And but my experience, I just said, okay, Lord, I'm going to do this. but I don't know, it's like a stab in the dark. You don't know if it's going to go over well with the audience. You don't know, and I remember, because Larry flew Paul and I out, and we were camping out in this basement, the night before, and I got to meet Paul, and I was just wondering, it's like, I wonder if this guy can play drums, what a what a treat. And Paul tells Larry and I, hey, you guys go upstairs and have a cup of coffee and let me warm up for a little bit. And so, and I was just I was like, here comes Lord. I wonder if this guy's going to be good. And so Larry and I we go upstairs. I'm sorry, I love telling the story. We go upstairs, and we're drinking our coffee and we're eating a biscuit or whatever, and then Paul started warming up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy is like amazing. And I was after hearing him, because it was reverberating through the whole house. After hearing him, I was excited to get down there and get to work, because it was like, as a bass player, you're always, you're always wondering about the drummer, and you're always wondering, he's going to be good, he's going to want to lock in with you. And I mean, my heart was like palpitating, because I was like, this guy, he seriously is one of the best drummers on the planet. And so, we got down there and started learning the songs, and it was just easy as can be. Again, what can I say about Larry and Paul? They are just better people than they are musicians. And that's saying a lot, because they're both very talented, and which makes it a genuine blessing to be able to work with guys that, that share the same heart for the Lord as you do. And just easygoing and not religious, not just we spent more time laughing about stuff and cracking up, and I just remember on the way down to the Immortal Fest, I was driving the RV. Remember, Paul? Driving the RV. And then we're stopped at a red light, and all of a sudden the whole RV just dies. And now we're sitting in traffic, and we're just like, what are we going to do? Paul's just immediately just starts praying, Lord, I just come before you, Lord, help us to fix this thing right now and as fast as you can. And here I am, I'm driving the RV, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it to this show and everything. And we had one of the guys get out, and it just turned out to be a battery cable. And boy, do we have a good story to tell after that.
Yeah.
You remember, Paul?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I mean, yeah. But anyway, yeah, it was a great time. Larry and Paul are great guys.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. Well,
mm.
Larry, give us a little bit of history with TRYTAN. You guys have been around for a while. Tell us how the band got started, and let's go back a few years.
Awesome. I just did the mission chapel this morning, and there was a guy that asked me, he'd been to the chapel service. He goes, you should start a band. And I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, yeah. and I said, hey, I said, I've been a recording artist and doing music since like 1980. And he's like, oh yeah, what music did you like? And it was interesting. And my mom and dad loved music. My mom could play piano. Both my mom and dad could sing. My dad could whistle like a bird. And they really instilled the love for music in me. I remember sitting in the back of their 73 Buick Regal, listening to John Denver, Poems and Prayers and Promises.
Yes.
And, James Taylor, Elton John's greatest hits.
Dude.
And Cat Stevens was my guy. But so I could play guitar, and I kind of came from that Cat Stevens, John Denver, Harry Chapin class.
Love that era. Yes.
How about it? Story music, Gordon Lightfoot, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So when I got into high school, I was kind of an anomaly. Like, all my friends were getting into pop music, and I was into, all the stuff my folks were listening to. Because it was like, until my sister was born, it was just the three of us, and we'd go in the car and go for rides, and they loved music. And like I said, my mom could play piano, my grandma could play piano, and all my cousins, Mark, Mitch, Marty, Marshall, and Matthew, they were all musicians. And they would be in my folks' living room and recording music. And they were kind of like, you know, Beatles, all the kind of Doors, Beatles, real folky stuff, you know. But it just, music excited me. I remember when I was a little boy, like just a baby, like 1 or 2 years old, when they would sing happy birthday, it could be my birthday or somebody else's birthday, but I would start to weep at the singing of happy birthday, you know. And so there was a love for music instilled in me. And I would drive with my dad. I was like at my dad's side until I was like 15, or until I got my driver's license. But I would say, "Hey, Dad, sing Streets of Laredo," you know. And as I walk down the streets of Laredo, you know, it's a story about a gunfighter, I think, you know. But
Whippy-ki-yay, get along, little doggies. Yeah.
See, so I'd have him sing to me, and I'd start to cry. I'd get emotional, you know, just with my dad singing. And so, you know, got through grade school. Loved that story music, like, you know, Cat Stevens, Harry Chapin, Gordon Lightfoot. Then got into high school,
Great
and
stuff.
then all the buds in my neighborhood, you know, they were into like, you know, Foghat, Bad Company, all that stuff. And my neighbor turned me on to this band called Rush.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And prior to Rush, I guess that, and I mean, I'm kind of spiraling off here, but I really loved Peter Frampton Comes Alive. That album really moved me, and Jethro Tull, because the acoustic-y, kind of the prog acoustic-y stuff, you know. So that was kind of my,
and the flute
Frampton and Tull, and then so I was turned on to Rush. And I was in a few garage bands in my neighborhood. And then I got into high school, and I started really gravitating more towards the rock stuff, kind of a way. I got an electric guitar and saved up my money, and I bought an Ibanez Destroyer. And it's like, all right, I'm going to do this band thing. So a buddy of mine in the neighborhood named Ed Craven, and another friend from school, Dave Nichols. He was in the jazz band at school, could play bass. So we formed a band, and we were pretty terrible. But so then I met a guy a year younger than me in high school named John Adami. And I would say pound for pound, one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. John was funny. He was witty. His dad was a doctor. And multi-instrumentalist. He could play drums, but his main thing was bass and keyboards. So we partnered up, and we got in a band, and there went through quite a few iterations. John and I went through probably 10 drummers before we finally landed Scott Blackman, who was the drummer on the first TRYTAN album. And we made up our mind early on. You know, we did everything. John had a kind of a raspy Rob Halford kind of Dio type of voice, and I had the more, you know, Triumph Rush kind of voice. And we did a lot of covers for like that, maybe that first year. But then we made up our mind, you know, we're not going to go anywhere performing other people's music unless we're going to be a tribute band, which I suppose we could have done, but that didn't appeal to us. So got with John, and then Scott. We heard about this Scott Blackman. He's one of the big names in drumming in Chicago, and it's like, well, let's reach out to him. And so our sound man, Steve Robinson, was in a band with him, and Scotty came in, and we jammed together, and he wound up leaving the band he was in and getting with us. I still kind of feel bad about that, but so it was John, Scott, and me, and we started writing music and doing shows around Chicago, and we got on quite a few big bills and a few little tours. In fact, it was with Fierce Heart, Rex Carroll's band.
Yes.
we did the pre-production because we had a sound system and a moving truck and stuff. And our old dear buddy, who's actually the original human, Mr. Electric, he got us on doing production and opening up for Fierce Heart on this little Midwest tour. So that was really cool, meeting Rex. And you know, we would pray before, and he kind of would straggle in and say, "Hey man, could I pray with you guys?" I'm like, of course, you know. So that's how we first met, way before White Cross. And we did some work with them, and then I really had a conviction on my heart, you know, and it must have been the wisdom of the Lord in me as a young Christian. But it's like, I just felt like I need to be squared up with these guys. I want what I'm going to do for the Lord. And so the Lord had me go to my team, and I said, listen, the road crew, we had 7 guys living in a warehouse, theater dressed warehouse. We'd have open rehearsals when we were in town, and we'd have Bible studies. And I told the guys in the band and the sound people, the techs, everybody, guys, I'm going to do this for the Lord. Now, I really want to do it the way God wants us to. So I want to pray before we play. I want to have Bible studies. I want to really be serious about discipleship. I had got connected to Pastor Raul Reese in Calvary Chapel, who was in West Covina at the time. So I got really serious about discipleship. And I said, I don't want to frustrate you guys. And I don't want you to cause the spiritual end for the Lord to lag. So let's just make it about the Lord. And if I want to give you a chance to get off this train, if you need to, and do what God's, you know, do what you need to do, and I need to go and do what I feel the Lord's calling me to do. So anyways, everybody was on board. And then my longtime, you know, John Lennon, he came to me after a couple months and said, "Hey man," he goes, I'm gonna step off. And I'm like, you know, 2 years earlier, I would have freaked out, like, dude, you know, it's you and me. And I just said, cool, man. You know, I let him go. And then the guy who was doing sound, Steve Robinson, he played bass and was already in a band before with Scotty. And it's like, well, let's ask Steve and Bev to pray about it. And we asked Steve and Bev to pray about it. And he quickly came back and said, yeah, man, I'm in. And that's before we finished the first album. We went in and had Steve lay some tracks down and finished the record with REX Music. And then, and when everybody got on board, Pastor Bob, with the Lord, and I know this is no surprise to you, when everybody was sold out for the Lord, that's when all the doors started to open. And
dude, yes, absolutely.
We could see it, the hand of God on it, you know. And so that's pretty much
that's
it.
all God's waiting for, isn't it, Larry? You know, I always say, once you get right in the center of God's will, put on your seatbelt. It's going to be a fast ride.
Yeah.
Will be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to fast forward through, so then Steve and Scott and I were in the band with Celestial Messenger, and then right after that, in that period, Scott met his wife Robin. They got pregnant, and it was a distressed pregnancy, and Kyle was born like an incredible amount early. And so he had to take care of his wife, and he said, like, hey man, we had just finished writing Silent Tiger, and he's like, dude, I got to step off and take care of my family. I'm like, dude, totally understand. We were involved in ministry at Calvary Chapel together, and we had pretty much finished writing everything on Silent Tiger except Make Your Move. And Scott had to step off. So I went to him and said, hey bro, family first, God, family. I said, I get it. I said, but you worked on this material. I want you to think about if you want to record this with us. It's your album, man. It's your songs. So you could do that. And then, you know, maybe it would only take him like 2 or 3 days to get it done. If there's any way you could swing that, I'd love for you to be able to do that. And he prayed about it, and he said, man, I can't. And we were like, okay, bro, praise God, you know? And then one of our drum techs, Jim Dobbs, again, asking like our team, like our bench. And we asked Jim, who was a way more straight ahead type of rocker. We asked him to, you know, you want to fill in for Scotty let's go. He had such a heart for God, and it was a little bit more straight ahead and less proggy than Scott was. So we thought that kind of fit, that would be good, you know. And so Jim came in, he learned the songs. We put together Make Your Move. Like right as we were going in the studio, we wrote Make Your Move off the Silent Tiger. And then that was the Silent Tiger team. And we did a bunch of stuff with Rev from Sacrifice Productions in Minneapolis. Pastor Bob, you may know Rev Hillstrom with Sacrifice Productions. He was in the band Shadow Wings.
Yeah.
And we did a bunch of stuff with them in the Silent Tiger era. And then my mom got diagnosed with cancer. My wife and I were really going through some struggles. We were having kids like crazy. And so we just laid it down in early 91. And then we just started planning churches, and we were planning churches. And then God gave us the green light, you know, on TRYTAN Blood of Kings in about 2018. And then met Eric, and, you know, Eric, and then that's when I asked Jim, hey, would you be involved in this? And he said, whatever you need, man. So he played on a lot of the songs on Blood of Kings, and here we are. And then now Paul coming on board with the live team, and Jim and Paul and I, you know, we're just trusting the Lord to open doors and to give us the time to go and do this TRYTAN thing as the Lord leads.
Well, and you know, Larry, it's amazing when you think back at all of the details that happen when God puts something together, and just about the time you think, okay, this is it, he goes, no, it's not quite it. Let's keep going, and away you go. And I'm sure all those years ago, if somebody would have said, now Jim Liberty will also be in the band, you would have said, oh yeah, right, you know.
Right.
You've had it's been such a great time of seeing God's complete vision coming.
Absolutely. And Pastor Bob, you know, one of the underpinnings of that was staying out of strife. Our pastor from Calvary Chapel here, who I was on staff with him for years, is still a dear mentor and example to me. He would always say, if you strive to gain, you will strive to maintain.
Yes.
And so we all the way through, even with Eric being involved in the Neil Morse band, and now with Temek, and we just didn't try to force things to happen. Even Jim and Paul and I working together, it was like, well, guys, I need to get you up here, and you know, the World Light Music bank account is I could maybe buy you guys a hamburger and mail it to you, but you know, so the Lord provided. And it came in, and you know, money came in just at the right time. Paul had to be up here in Chicago for our second. We only rehearsed like 6 days total before a Modal Fest, if you can believe that or not. That's a tribute to how talented these guys are. But Paul had to be up here for the NCMI conference at the Anthem Church in Chicago, and he's like, "Man, the church is gonna fly me up and everything." So, and I just had to fly him back. So that was like part of the God storm that you're talking about, Pastor Bob, where it's like God's in it, you know.
How things fit together. And, you know, and it's been so cool to just watch God with the whole movement like that. You know, you mentioned Raul Reese, who I love. And my earliest memory of him was I was speaking at Calvary Chapel in Costa Mesa. And many years ago, Jimmy Kemper, was the worship, or was the youth pastor at the time. That's how long ago it was. He was, and Tom Stipe, you know, the first youth pastor, was a great friend, but Jimmy was the youth pastor, and I was out in my motorhome that I used to travel in, and I did this talk on Christian rock, and I was doing it at Calvary Chapel, and he brought Raul Reese into my motorhome, and he introduced me to him. I didn't know him at that point. And he said, Raul has a Calvary Chapel as well. He'd like you to speak there too, you know. And when I showed up at his church, it was about the same size as Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. And we forged a great friendship then as well. Yeah. But I love those early beginnings. And And that was the time when music was new, it was fresh, and tons of possibilities. Well, we've run over time. I'm just watching the clock, and we
Mhm.
could talk for another 5 hours, couldn't we?
No
Mhm.
question. No question.
Well,
Yeah.
Larry, it's been great to have you on, and we need to do a part two, and we'll do that one of these days soon. I'd love that. And folks, if you haven't heard Triton, you need to. Three great albums, and you can go to this site here that you see on your screen, and listen to some of the music, see what they're up to, and look forward to hearing some great stuff in the future from our good friend Larry Dean and company. And Jim, you got a good concert coming up this weekend.
Yep. Yeah.
Great.
Definitely come on out to the BMI Event Center in Versailles, Ohio. And just a shout out to John Cassandra, who made that
Amen.
commercial. But oh man, dude, he just did such a great job on it. And it's like, I feel like it's like, wow, he
Jim,
did such a great job of advertising, and he does a lot of work behind the scenes
makes
here. And
you look like a rock star. It makes you.
yeah, it makes it bigger than life.
You're cool. You're cool.
Appreciate that. So
Well,
Hey, Pastor Bob, would
yeah.
I be able to give you guys a quick rundown on some prayer requests and some information
Yes.
about? Okay, so pray for us, because I'm in the process of crafting the live set for the live performances for Triton. And if you're out there in Europe or Asia or around the U.S., you want to bring Triton in, please hit us up. We'd love to share what the Lord has put on our hearts with everyone we can. But we have a live performances coming up. Then we have Triton Alliance. It's a best of CD that's coming out. Then we have the Heart of the Dragon album that we're working on. And again, like I said, for the live set, picking the songs and what we're going to do, and some new stuff, some old stuff, and a bunch of different stuff. And then this Praise Meets Metal project that I've been working on for a while.
Awesome.
We dropped 2 singles on it, You Are Good, and an original called My God Bled. And I got notified everything in the digital market has been shut down because of a trademark infringement. I didn't know that the name Emanate was already taken. So we are in the process of finding out a new name for the Praise Meets Metal project. And there are some real heavyweights on this album. And
I can't wait to hear it. And also, Larry, let's talk about putting that on the Intense Worship Records label with all of the worship projects. I really believe that God is moving and leading our whole community, our whole metal community, with worship right now. So let's talk more about that.
Absolutely. This is, Pastor Bob, if there's something I was born for, it's for this, leading worship, leading God's people to his presence, and the music. I really feel like this album is,
yes,
it's going to move people. It's going to be a whole album of revelation songs, like on Blood of Kings, whole album filled with these kinds of praise, worship songs, and pray for us to pick the right name. I spent like the past couple of days doing word searches and studying Greek and Hebrew, and I've got like 16 names to choose from now, and I got to whittle it down. So I need God's help to do that. But we'll announce it as soon as we can. We'll get the singles back up and out with the new name, and then we're hoping to have the album out sometime in May next month. So it'll be good.
Awesome. And I know this guy right here has the same heart that you do.
Amen.
We appreciate that.
Worship.
Well, we're out of time. I wish we could go longer, but you guys, thank you once again. Appreciate that. And of course, you can get all of their stuff, all of their really good merchandise through Anchor Distribution, Anchor Merchandising, and appreciate those guys. They are part of Sanctuary here as well. Folks, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been great, as always, to spend this time with you. Appreciate you joining me. Next week, we'll be back. More guests, more fun times, but mostly spending some time with you. Gordon Titsworth will be with us next time. And from Images of Eden, we have Danny with us after that from Rage of Angels. And then Gary Hansen will be with us from Fear Not. Great month ahead. Great shows. You don't want to miss even one. Folks, blessings to you. Don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.